Hey guys, Travis here with TK Light Design. Today I want to talk about just bring a little bit of awareness to residential downlighting. I see a lot of these $1 to $4 million houses getting built, and the lights I see that are getting put in are these wafers. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're pretty inexpensive. They're $30, I believe, and uh, they were originally designed for shallow plenum ceilings because you can do literally put it in 1.25 inches, driver separate over here. Here's the light source, and the mounting pieces makes it so you can fit in some really tight spaces, which is nice and handy. Um, However, just a few things I do want to bring attention to is the first one would be glare. Um, Now, glare is like when someone has their high beams on at night, and because it's really dark everywhere else, so it's your eyes are adjusted to the backdrop, the source, everything behind you, and we have light that shines on the road that helps us see where we're going. But then when someone comes around the other corner, their beams are helping us see where it's going. But if their brights are on, it's in our eyes, it's in our peripherals, and it makes it really hard to see. On a smaller level, but still uncomfortable to the brain, is what light sources like this is doing. So I don't know if you can tell because it's the light source itself is not recessed up in here, and it's not concealed. It's right flush with the lens there, and it's really concentrated, even light all the way around. So that's a pretty concentrated light source. And if you have your ceiling that is 8 to 10 feet, you're gonna have glare right in your peripherals all the time. And then on the other hand, you're like, well, on these larger homes, our ceilings are going to be 14 feet tall. That's great. You're not going to have the problem with glare, but then what is it that you're lighting? You're going to ask yourself too, because the performance of the fixture, really, if you look at it, um, this is if it was mounting up in the ceiling. Um, a lot of the light source is right there at the beginning, which most lights they are, but a lot of it's getting lost to the sides here. Um, like you can see that 90-degree beam angle there. So it's lighting up your ceilings, but it's also calling a lot of attention to this light source, not having it recessed in, and the initial brightness tucked up in away, and it's not getting a lot of light out leaving the can. If you have a 14-foot ceiling, you're not going to get a lot of light to the bottom of the floor. You need something with a little bit narrower beam angle and let it spread out as it travels towards the floor. So um, when you look at that, a lot of it's cost versus performance too. There are can lights out there that are just as inexpensive as this, that even have a little bit of have like 5 or 6 inches space up in it, but you can tuck in even a BR30 bulb, and that helps recess it up a little bit, and it has a lens and makes it so it's not as harsh. And those are pretty cost effective ways too. There are other LED light sources where the light source itself is tucked back up 5 to 6 inches. That would be the best to help out with glare. And then they have reflectors, trims with different beam spreads to help based on the distance to the ground that you're trying to get to. Also, with these, you think about the effect of nighttime when you have lights on, because lighting, daylight originally used to help us out, tell us when it was time to go to bed. It helps our production of melatonin when the sunlight is actually going down and it's starting to sunset, and that warm color temperature, that 2200K starts telling our body, okay, our body starts going into producing melatonin. It's time to get ready for bed. And when the light is gone, then you're ready to go sleep. However, when we started introducing electric light, we started staying up later. And that's okay too, to stay up late. I'm not saying that with all our phone devices and everything, but however, if you have, harsh glare lighting in your house, and that's where you spend most of your time in the evening, and you're spending $1 to $4 million on your home, I would recommend thinking about the lighting in that way, because it does affect how you feel. A lot of people remember is how a place made them feel. If you're sitting in a reading nook and you have a gentle light coming in, and the way that plays on the shadows, it can speak to you in a way that makes you feel a lot more comfortable. If your house is lit up with a bunch of basically holes of light, holes of glare, uh, there's certain situations where that's the best case to do it. However, I think that most people will be disappointed and they're not going to feel comfortable and they're not going to know why. Because light does affect how we feel. And then the last thing I do want to point out is that light calls attention. It actually helps us wayfind, it helps us know where to go. People follow light. And part of that is shadows too. Having the shadows and the contrast to help us figure out where the light is. And if we just wash everything with light, then it's completely doing the opposite of not having enough light. So I think good lighting design calls attention to great architecture in subtle ways that helps make people feel good and comfortable, and they don't even know it. They don't even realize it. So if you're building a house and you're thinking about it, and you start to look at the residential downlighting, at least maybe that will make you start thinking about it in different ways, that you can start integrating the lighting into your house in a comfortable way that feels good for you.